The night of August 13th, 2017 would haunt the small town of Pine Lake forever. At 12:03 a.m., a frantic 911 call came through. She's gone, and there's blood everywhere. The operator heard a desperate gasp, followed by the line going silent. What the operator didn't know was that this was the beginning of a mystery that would change the town and its people forever. Emily Hart, the bright, adventurous 19-year-old college student, had come back to Pine Lake to reconnect with her family after her first year away at university. The cabin, tucked away in the dense pines near the lake, was a place of warmth and safety for Emily. She wasn't just another local girl. She was the daughter of two beloved figures in town, the Harts, who ran the bait shop. People saw her as a symbol of the small-town dream, family-oriented, hardworking, and full of promise. Yet, behind her smile, there were cracks in her life that no one knew. The search for Emily began immediately, but the clues were scarce. Her family's cabin was in disarray. Half the kitchen drawers were pulled out, and the front door was wide open. On the porch, a coffee mug was shattered, and a strange smear of blood led out to the woods. Deputy Sarah Whitmore arrived on the scene, stepping through the broken door. A sense of unease gripped her. There was something unnatural about the silence. Her eyes scanned the area, taking in the eerie details. Emily's phone on the floor, cracked and unresponsive, with the camera app still open. As Sarah picked it up, she saw the last image Emily had taken, a blurry figure in the woods. Emily's boyfriend, Kyle Brennan, was one of the first people questioned. The two had been inseparable in high school, but Emily had been distant in recent weeks. Kyle claimed they had an argument about her going abroad for an internship. She was upset. She just disappeared into the woods. "I couldn't find her," Kyle told police, his eyes darting nervously. However, his alibi didn't check out. Neighbors reported hearing shouting around the time of the disappearance, and a local bartender revealed that Kyle had been seen drinking heavily the night before. Emily's best friend, Lila, provided a new insight into Kyle's behavior. She revealed that Emily had confided in her about troubling things: Kyle's jealousy, his controlling nature, and the increasing tension between them. Emily had talked about ending things, but Kyle didn't take it well. The deeper they dug into Kyle's background, the more unsettling details emerged. Social media accounts showed a pattern of possessiveness, text messages demanding Emily's whereabouts at all times. Was this a love turned toxic, or was there something more sinister at play? As the investigation expanded, search teams scoured the thick forests surrounding Pine Lake. One morning, two hikers found a pair of Emily's shoes neatly placed by a large boulder. The shoes were scuffed, the soles worn as if she had been running. But there were no other signs of her. No clothing, no belongings, nothing to explain her sudden disappearance. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. Sarah felt an odd shiver when she heard the term Whisper Bend, a spot in the lake surrounded by dense fog, known for eerie sounds that locals claimed were the voices of those who'd vanished over the years. Days passed, and investigators were no closer to finding Emily. Then a tip came in. A gas station attendant reported seeing a man matching Kyle's description buying bandages and cold medicine the morning after Emily's disappearance. Kyle had no explanation for this. When he was confronted, he became defensive, even accusing the investigators of trying to frame him. His anger seemed out of place for someone who had supposedly just lost his girlfriend. Was this guilt or fear? An anonymous caller reported seeing a strange man near the lake several days before Emily's disappearance. A hunter, his description vague but unsettling, a tall figure wearing a hood and moving with a purpose. Investigators scoured the area around Whisper Bend, hoping to find any evidence of a struggle. Then came a shocking discovery: a blood-stained piece of cloth. It was a match to Emily's favorite shirt. Whoever had taken her had tried to cover their tracks, yet the evidence was pointing in a direction no one had expected. Silas Ray was a name that had been whispered among locals for years. Once a logger, Silas had been convicted of an attempted kidnapping in the 90s but had mysteriously disappeared before his sentencing. For years, he'd been presumed dead, his name only brought up in hushed conversations. But now, his name resurfaced. Could Silas have been involved in Emily's disappearance? Was he hiding in the nearby woods, waiting for his next victim? A search team found a dilapidated trailer on the edge of the forest, its windows boarded up. Inside, the discovery was chilling: animal carcasses, makeshift cages, and human hair. Investigators immediately began testing the hair samples. To their horror, it was a match to Emily's. But there was no sign of her. It was clear now: Silas Ray was alive, and he was connected to Emily's disappearance. But was he a random predator, or was there a deeper, more personal reason for his actions? Divers were sent into Pine Lake to search for any sign of Emily. The lake, notorious for its depth and murky waters, was a place of both beauty and danger. Weeks of searching produced nothing, until, on the 58th day, a body surfaced near Whisper Bend. It was Emily. Her body was bruised, weighted down with a rock, but otherwise intact. The town of Pine Lake was shaken to its core. How had she ended up in the lake? And why had Silas kept her alive for so long? Silas Ray's background began to unravel. He had spent years living off the grid, and his past was full of violent outbursts, allegations of abuse, and a history of stalking young women. But there was more. A local woman came forward, claiming that Silas had approached her daughters several years ago. He said he could teach her about the lake, she recalled. He said it was a secret only the Pines could understand. Was Silas obsessed with Emily's potential? Or was there something else, something darker, that drove him to take her? Forensic psychologists interviewed Silas Ray's family and former acquaintances. They described him as a man who had once been kind and even charming before he changed. He withdrew from society, spending years in isolation, consumed by the woods and the secrets they held. He believed the lake had power, his sister confessed, that it could make people disappear, and he wanted to prove it. Emily's disappearance had been part of his twisted obsession, a way to test his theory. But why Emily? Was it simply random, or did he have a reason for choosing her? As the investigation delved deeper, police discovered a hidden diary belonging to Silas Ray. It was filled with strange, almost poetic entries about the lake, the forest, and the whispers that could only be heard by those who understood the language of the trees. One entry, written just days before Emily's disappearance, read, "She's close. She'll be the one to break through the veil. She'll be the one to hear it." What did Silas mean? Was he trying to teach Emily something? Or was he playing a twisted game? The community began to unravel after Emily's body was found. Pine Lake, once a place of serene beauty, now felt like a haunted land. People spoke of strange noises in the woods at night, unexplained shadows moving between the trees. Sarah Whitmore, the lead investigator, began to feel the weight of the case in a way she hadn't expected. "This town was never meant for this," she said in an interview. "It was never meant to bear this kind of darkness." The day Silas Ray was found dead, hanging from a tree in the woods, was the day the investigation took a final turn. Was it suicide? Or had someone, perhaps Emily, fought back? The autopsy revealed nothing definitive, and for weeks, the town was left in limbo. Sarah Whitmore wondered if there was more to Silas's death than anyone realized. Could he have been silenced before he could reveal the truth about what really happened to Emily? Months passed, but the pain lingered. Emily's family could never move past the horror of the events. The cabin was left abandoned, a ghostly reminder of the life that once was. Kyle Brennan left town, unable to face the community. And even those who had only known Emily briefly were haunted by her memory. The town of Pine Lake, forever scarred, continued its quiet existence, but the shadows of that summer never truly faded. Though the case was officially closed, many questions remained unanswered. Why did Silas choose Emily? What was the true nature of his obsession? Was there anyone else involved? As Sarah Whitmore sat by the lake one final time, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. The answer, she believed, was still out there, hidden deep within the forest, just beyond the reach of the law. As Sarah walked the familiar paths around the lake, she felt the weight of the town's silence. "The lake keeps its secrets," she whispered to herself. Emily's story wasn't just about a girl who disappeared, it was a warning. A warning that some places are better left unexplored, that some truths are too dangerous to know. Pine Lake moved on, but the legacy of Emily Hart lingered in every whisper of the pines. The lake, the woods, and the town itself would forever carry the weight of the unanswered questions. As new generations of families settled near the water, they would hear the stories, and they would wonder, what happened to Emily? And more disturbingly, who was next?